At some point, you might want to change the front tire on your e-bike. And if you don't know how to do that, this video is for you. Hello my friends, my name's Gene Arnold and thanks so much for tuning into this video. So look, here's the deal. At some point, you're going to have to take the front tire off your e-bike. Now that's either going to happen because unfortunately you got a flat tire, or maybe because you've been having so much fun on your e-bike that you just wore the tire out and it's time to replace it. Now when that time comes, you've basically got two options. You either take your e-bike to your local bike shop and have them do it for you, which is totally cool. Or if you want to take on the task all by yourself and you're not sure how to do it, you're going to want to watch the rest of this video. I'm going to cover all the tools that you need and the step-by-step process on how to change the front tire on your e-bike. Now, if you find this video helpful, do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to learn about more content that I'll be releasing, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and maybe even check off that bell so you're notified exactly when I release a new video. That being said, let's jump into the video on how to change your front tire. There are not a lot of tools required for this job. You're going to need an air pump, you're going to need an adjustable wrench or box wrench, you're going to need a set of tire irons, and you're going to need a brake caliper spacer. You'll learn how to use that in this video. The first part of the process is removing the front tire. I'm using a box wrench. You can use that or an adjustable wrench, but the first thing you need to do is loosen the nuts on the axle. You don't have to take them all the way off, just loosen them so that you can loosen and pull out the small little locking washer that you'll see pictured right now. Now you'll remove the front tire from your fork. Remember, when you place the tire down, notice how I'm going to catch it, right? And I'm flipping it over. Don't let it fall on your brake rotor. It's now time to use that caliper spacer. This is going to be placed between your brake pads and it will prevent your pistons from being pushed all the way out if you accidentally pull on your brake lever throughout this process. You could also use a piece of wood, some playing cards, some business cards, anything like that would be just fine, but you'll want to put that in there to make sure that your pistons do not get pushed out too far by accident. Now, if your tire still has some air in it, it's time to get that out. You can try to use your tire iron to push the stem in. I ended up having to use an Allen key to push the stem in, or rather the valve in the stem, to get all the air out. You may also have to push on your tire to get that all out at the same time while you're pushing in the valve. Okay, now grab your tire iron and you can just kind of spin that around like you see in the video here and pop off one side of the tire. The other side you can just pull off by hand. It's very easy. Be careful of the valve. See how I'm popping that out of the rim? You don't want to break that or rip anything. Just take your time, but it's very easy to do this. It's now time to install your new tire. First thing you got to do is put a little bit of air in the tube that's inside of your tire. Okay, you just need to build a little bit of structure up over here. Okay, you don't fill it all the way up, just a little bit of air to give it a little bit of structure. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, tires are directional. If you take a look at your tire, you'll see an arrow pointing the direction that the tire should be turning in for the treads to work properly. Okay. So you're going to want to make sure you set those up properly when you install your tire back on your rim, right? Understand how your rim is going to rotate, your tire is going to rotate, and match them up so that you're putting your tire on correctly. Nothing's worse than putting your tire on and having it completely wrong and then having to do it all over again. Next thing, you're going to want to pop the tire around the rim. Notice I looked for the valve stem for the tube. Right? Make sure you put that in properly. It only can go in one way. So take your time and pop that through. And once you get that through, I usually go and put the valve cover, right, the cap on, this so it doesn't pop out on you and drive you crazy when you're trying to get the whole tire set up. Okay? Now it's just time to work that tire around the rim. Notice I'm using my tire iron to get one side on, right? It pops it on. It's really not that hard. And then you'll pop the other side on. Okay, this side can be a little bit more tricky sometimes, right? The first side's usually pretty easy, but the second one sometimes could be a little bit more tricky. Notice I'm using the tire iron to my advantage to pop this on. Notice how it just all popped off again, right? So it's just a little bit of a dance you do with the tire to get it on. Some people even spray some soapy solution on there to help it slide around a little bit. To each his own. This one really wasn't that hard to put on. Tubeless tires can really be a bear to put on, but these are really not that big a deal. It just popped on. But this next part is super important. Notice how I'm basically squeezing the tire in the tube and making sure it all fits into the center of the rim. Okay? You want this to be perfectly centered. If you don't, what happens is when you fill the tire with air, okay, it won't be centered properly and it'll wobble. So this is when I start filling up the tire with some air. Notice, see, I'm looking at the bead, making sure it's all fitting inside of the rim. I'll fill the tire up with a little bit of air each time and fit that tire around the bead of the rim. Do a little bit of banging here and there, right? Making sure it all fits in properly. Again, if you don't, the tire's going to wobble. Okay, so this is just a process of taking your time. Again, a little bit more air, taking a look at it. It's worth the extra time to do this correctly. Then your tire will be seated properly on your rim, and then you'll be good to go. Now, once you have the right pressure filled into the tube, put your cap back on, and you'll notice when I spin this tire, right, when you take a look at it, it's perfectly centered on the rim. No wobbling, and this is really what you're looking for. Okay, now it's time to get this tire back on the bike. Pull out your caliper spacer that we talked about earlier. And this can be a little bit tricky. You need to get the rotor, your brake rotor, in between the brake caliper pads. And do this little by little. Sometimes people flip the bike over. It's a little bit harder to do that with these e-bikes because of the controls on the handlebars. So you do need to take your time. I'll put a couple pictures on the screen right now to show you what you're looking for. But at the end of the day, you're trying to get that disc brake inside the caliper. And once you get it close, maybe you just want to hand tighten those bolts so everything stays in place. Okay, again, once you get it in there, hand tighten those bolts. Use that lock washer properly. I'll put more pictures on the screen. It's not the hardest thing in the world. It really isn't. But it just takes a little bit of time. Okay? Lock washers in place. And at this point, you're just going to want to go and get your either box wrench or adjustable wrench and tighten this back up. If your bike has specs, tighten it up to spec. If not, give it a nice little snug tightness and you'll be good to go. All right, my friends, that's going to do it. Hopefully you found this video helpful. You've got your bike all set up so you can go back out and have some fun. Now, I've got lots of great videos available for you. I've got videos on essential tools. I've got videos on different tires to use. I've got videos on all kinds of fun stuff. If you like this content, like I said, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Stick around for a while, right? Become part of the community. Give me some comments down below if you found this video helpful. What could I have done better? Was there something I missed that I should add into another video? Let's talk, all right? Thanks so much again for watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you around. Have a good one.